Well, Anne, thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you for bringing us together today. I also want to thank Steve Cohen. Steve, where are you? There you are. Thank you for your kind words, incidentally. He's not my cousin. He actually said that. And my connection to Columbia, I was never able to get into this great university, although I don't remember ever applying. But we have employed some of your professors in our administration who seem to be happy to get the money. And you should pay them a little bit more, perhaps. And my sister, who is here, who has a graduate degree from Columbia, and my girlfriend, who has two of them, but she chose to go to the Caribbean and sail in a race rather than come here today. I'm not quite sure who made the best choice, but I'm happy to be here, and she said to say hello. Anyways, I know some of you have traveled very far to be here today. Considering the weather in the last few days, it's amazing that you got here. I can understand why Mayor Hidalgo suggests having the next Women for Climate event in Paris. With climate change, for all I know, you'll have snow by next year this time of the year. And Megan Murphy, thank you so much for doing all of this. She is one of the stars in Bloomberg News. She was living very happily in Washington, and we moved her up here as Trump came in. I don't know if there was any connection, but she did get a big promotion. Don't screw this up. That's all I can tell you. All kidding aside, I did have a chance to work closely with Mayor Hidalgo through C40 and in my work as UN Special Envoy for Cities and Climate Change. And the mayor really has set a great example with her bold leadership in Paris, which really is helping to save lives. She has proposed ambitious measures like banning cars that emit the most pollution and transforming busy roads into pedestrian walkways, steps that fight climate change and clean air. And for the doubters, while it did take a lot of courage for her to propose those ideas, and that's what leadership is all about, and that's why we're so glad to have Mayor Hidalgo as our C40 chair. We've done those things here in New York, and once you get over the initial skepticism, people love it. And our big problem here is too many neighborhoods want to get rid of cars. We still have to have some ways to get around. Once these things become popular, like the smoking ban, nobody's going to stop them. So just keep up the good fight, and we really will make a big difference. The fact is, addressing the causes of climate change is one of our greatest opportunities to save lives, because carbon emissions, as we know, and air pollution go hand in hand. And this connection between public health and the planet's health is what first drew me to the fight against climate change. And I think it's also the reason why so many other mayors are now leading this fight, including female mayors. And it's why we're making great strides together. When you think about the environment as near term and climate change as a longer term problem, you'll realize that the solutions to one problem are identical to the other. So however you want to look at it, the bottom line is we want to breathe clean air, we want to drink clean water, we want to be able to get to our jobs and homes and whatever safely. And we've got to stop something that's going on in this world where you see floods, where you used to have droughts, and droughts where you used to have floods, more storms, melting ice caps. For the doubters, nobody knows for sure what the future holds, but I think as a rational thing, if there is a danger, you take prophylactic measures. You don't wait until saying, I should have, would have, and could have. We can't play that game with the Earth. Our entire future really is at stake. During the Paris climate negotiations back in 2015, Mayor Hidalgo and I hosted the first ever climate summit for local leaders. Nearly 500 cities from 115 countries were represented. It really was a show of force designed to encourage national leaders to make strong commitments, and it worked. But signing a piece of paper is one thing, and actually carrying out the work and fulfilling commitments, as we all know, is another. And that's exactly what this group here is doing. Women leaders from around the world are stepping up to ensure that their nations reach their goals, and women mayors from C40 cities are helping to lead the way. And so is the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, and we're honored to have you with us today. She hosted me along with somebody that's called the Secretary General, but she's really the power in the UN. We had a great lunch, and we solved all the world's problems. I just want you to know that in one lunch. Another woman leader here, Patricia Espinosa, is heading the UN efforts to put the Paris Agreement into action. And her predecessor, Christiana Figueres, led the negotiations for the Paris Agreement and now serves as vice chair for the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, a coalition of more than 7,000 cities that we helped lead along with the European Commission. Women leaders at companies and nonprofits around the world are also speeding our progress, and I'm glad to say that includes CEO of Bloomberg Philanthropies, Patty Harris, who is sitting right there, and the head of our environmental program, Antha Williams. Antha, raise your hand. And Allie Jaffin, who sits next to Patty but really runs the whole place. Allie, thank you. Others are finding creative ways to draw attention to the urgency of the climate challenge, like the great artist Maya Lin, who is going to speak later. Maya, you should know, is on the board of Bloomberg Philanthropies, but the most important thing about Maya is I have one of her pieces of art in my house. I don't generally have things from famous artists like her, but this one somehow or other we got. Thank you, dear. She also has two daughters who really run her family, we know. Last week, Mayor Hidalgo and I met with President Hollande of France, who was instrumental in securing the Paris Agreement, and we assured him that despite changing political winds here and in Europe, cities around the world are committed to meeting the goals our nation set. And I told him no matter what happens in Washington, I really am confident that the United States will fulfill its Paris commitment. In fact, thanks to a campaign called Beyond Coal, U.S. carbon emissions are on pace to drop farther and faster than the targets of the Clean Power Plan, which was the foundation of the U.S. commitment in Paris. If you think about it, cities are where the environmental problems are, and the cities are where the solutions are. We may have a power plant that belches stuff into the air 200 miles away, but the energy from that plant goes to the city. So if we can be more efficient, in the cities, we really can make a difference even outside of the cities. When people get together, they want to enjoy the great things in life. They also put stress on our planet, and so we have to work together. But cities are really where it's at, and certainly in the United States, it's cities and the private sector, both corporations and individuals, that have been leading the way. Bloomberg Philanthropies has been supporting the Beyond Coal campaign since 2011 in partnership with the Sierra Club. Back then, we set an initial goal of cutting America's coal power by a third by the year 2020. And I'm glad to report that we here in the year 2017 have already exceeded that goal. In fact, rather than the third that we thought by 2020, we've nearly cut coal power by nearly one half. So far, we've helped close 248 coal plants in the United States, and these closures have had an enormous, huge, if you'll pardon the use of the word, impact. Huge is a joke, guys. If you hadn't get it, you're not reading the American press. In 2010, coal pollution was killing more than 13,000 Americans each year. And today, the statistics say that number is down to 7,000. Meanwhile, the drop in coal power is the biggest reason why the U.S. has led the world in reducing carbon emissions. We have to be sympathetic to people who are working in the coal industry. They need their jobs to feed their families, and we should do something. But coal is something we have to reduce our reliance on, and we have to worry about saving lives. And when it comes to jobs versus lives, I know what the right answer is. The right answer is you save the lives, and then we also find some way to help the coal miners, and we can do both of those things. It's not an either-or choice. But we still have a lot of work to do, and the stakes are both big for public health and for global warming. And to help raise awareness about the dangers of coal, Bloomberg Philanthropies, I'm happy to say, helped produce a new film about the issue. It is called From the Ashes, and it will premiere next month at the Tribeca Film Festival. And we have a short trailer to show you today, so sit back, watch the screens. It's short, but I'm sure you will enjoy it. Roll the tape. And you should know I'm already working on preparing my Oscar speech for the Best Documentary Award. Hopefully they'll get the envelope right this time. The Beyond Coal campaign has been so effective because communities around the country, in red states and blue states, have stood up for their right to breathe clean air. And many of the people are women fighting to protect their families and their communities. They don't always get the headlines, but they do get results. And today we're celebrating that effort, including the women at the Sierra Club who are helping to lead the charge. One of the real heroes in this story is the director of the Beyond Coal campaign, Mary Ann Hitt. You should know that Mary Ann is comes from one of the country's biggest coal-producing regions, so this fight really is personal for her. We've been lucky to have her work with us, and her efforts really are saving lives every single day. So thank you, everyone, and please join me in giving Mary Ann a big round of applause.